Whether the team has given us the highest of highs or the bluest of blue, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, Washington is 7-5, best record this late in the season since 2008. They've won 3 in a row, their second 3-game win streak of the season. They've won 6 out of 7, and they're playing really good football, and they're finding ways to win games. But there's a but. There are 2 things that's very apparent with this football team as we sit here, on November 29th, heading into the month of December, playing meaningful football. The physicality of this team is its calling card. Like, that's what's going to continue to give this team a chance. The physicality that they show on offense, running the football. I talked about this yesterday, the stick-to-itiveness of the run game. It's not always going to reap the most, results in terms of yards per carry. We saw that against Philadelphia. We've seen that at other times this year, but they've stuck with it, and it's been productive because of the fact that they continue to run it. The physicality on defense obviously has been a big reason why they've been able to turn the tide this season after the 1-4 start. They're going to have to continue to be physical on both sides of the football, continue to be a team that's a bully in the trenches. However, while the physicality is the calling card of this team, and ultimately that's going to be the driving force behind the success of this team moving forward, this team needs more out of the quarterback position. And if that's going to be Taylor Heinicke, they need more out of Taylor Heinicke. We talked about this after the game on Sunday, and Sunday isn't a great example of a game in which you want a ton more from your quarterback. It's a nasty day, wet conditions, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. However, there were missed opportunities in that game, okay? You get the football at midfield with a chance to get a field goal before halftime, can't throw an interception on the very first play. You get the football and give it right back to the opposing team. You get an opportunity to hit Terry McLaurin in the back of the end zone for a touchdown instead of having to settle for a field goal to go up 14-3 in a football game. You need to do that instead of going up 10-3. All right. There were opportunities that were missed in this game, and Heinicke's going to have to play better. We like his moxie. We like his never say die attitude. We like the clutch gene that he has at the end of ball games that he's shown us. We even like the fact that he's got a very quick memory. It's brief. He throws the pick and he comes right back, and it's as if it never happened. Almost like a corner. We love that about him. However, he's got to play better if this team is to be as successful as we hope they can be. He's going to have to play better. And here's the thing with Taylor Heinicke is we know he's capable. It's not like this is the ceiling. Like 14 of 23 for 138 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception is the ceiling for Taylor Heinicke, or 2 touchdowns, 1 interception is the ceiling for Taylor Heinicke. No, we know he can play better. The Falcon game exists from 2021. The Giants game exists from 2021. The second half of the Packers game this season exists. We know he's fully capable of shredding an NFL defense when he gets hot. But we need to start seeing him be more consistent. I love the short to intermediate accuracy. When he's got time in the pocket, he's usually very accurate with the football, especially going to his right. Again, I still think that going to his left is a problem. The near interception that he threw against Atlanta, another throw to his left, I just think he struggles throwing to his left. Frankly, even the ball to Terry against Indianapolis, I guarantee you if that's a ball to his right, he leads Terry down the field into the end zone, and Terry doesn't have to fight Stephon Gilmore for that football. But because it was thrown to his left, that thing was severely underthrown, and Terry had to go back and make a play on it. I just love the fact that he gave him an opportunity, but I can't help but think that when he goes to his left, usually problems ensue. You know, the ball that he threw to Terry against Houston, that's to the left. That easily should have been picked off by the safety on that first possession. That's to his left. That ball goes way over Terry's head. There's not even a chance, right? The pick he threw against the Philadelphia Eagles, to his left, right? That same ball that he threw down the sideline to Terry where he gave him a chance, to his left. In that same Eagles game, that was nearly picked off as well. So I can't help but think about, you know, the mistakes that he's made and how he struggles throwing to his left. At some point, they're going to have to clean that up. And I understand. I get it. You know, you're going to have to tendency break, though. But I said all of that to say this. I know he's capable. I know what he brings to the table. I'm excited about what we've done. But we're going to need more out of the quarterback position. This team, the rest of this team, they're ready now. Not necessarily to win a Super Bowl, okay? They're hungry and they're starving for some postseason success, and they're ready. They went in 2020, which is why I wanted to go. Most of those guys that are on the team now, they were on the team in 2020. They got a taste of that postseason success. Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, Montez Sweat, you know, Terry McLaurin, all those guys, Cam Sims, you know, most of the offensive linemen, you know, these guys were here in 2020. You know, I shouldn't say most of the offensive linemen. Actually, only 2 of them were here. 3 of them. Cornelius Lucas was here. Sam Cosmi, I think, was a rookie in he was not here in 2020. So Cornelius Lucas and Chase Rouillet, who's not even playing right now, was here. Tyler Larson, I think, was here in 2020. I'm not sure about that. Anyway, I digress. That's totally a non sequitur. A lot of the guys were here in 2020, okay? Cam Curl, we can go on and on, John Bostic, yada, yada, yada. You know, a lot of those guys were here in 2020. Got experience, tasted what it was like to play postseason football. They want to go back and they want to have some success. I would hate for the quarterback position to be the reason that this team doesn't maximize what they're capable of. Again, there's a ceiling on what Taylor Heinicke can do, all right? But 14 of 23 for 138 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception is not the ceiling. And we know that. The guy started that Falcons game 9 of 9. And then he was 0 for 7. Okay? 0 for his next 7. So we know he's capable. We know he's capable. But we need him to be more consistent. If this team is to do what we think they're capable of doing, they're going to need more out of the quarterback position. And Heinicke is capable. He's capable of using his legs to extend plays and not extend just to throw, which I don't have a problem with him extending to throw, but he's capable of extending to run. He can slide. He can get down before contact comes if that's what he's worried about. It's 3rd and 1. I don't need you throwing a pass 11 yards down the field. Unless a guy is wide open. Run for the first down. That pass, even though Cam Sims was open, it wasn't an easy throw. Clearly, Cole Turner thought it was for him. It skips off of his hands and it's incomplete. That easily could have skipped off of Cole Turner's hands and right into the defender's, Atlanta Falcons defender hands. And that could have been picked off. All because one guy thought it was for him and it wasn't. Just run for the first down. I also want to make a correction to something that I said. I said that Washington didn't come out in their 5-man defensive front until the second half. That's false. Remember I told you guys I missed the beginning of the football game? The very first possession of the game, the very first play of the game, they come out in the 5-man defensive front. And it was after that possession that they went back to the 4-man defensive front, the 4-man defensive line, and they really stuck with that for the remainder of the half. But they did come out initially in that 5-man defensive front. And the Falcons had a little bit of success, and they went back to 4-man defensive front, and then they primarily played that 5-man front in the second half, which is when they really slowed down Atlanta's offense. So I just needed to make that correction for whatever it's worth. But our calling card, without a question, is our physicality. We're beating teams up. We're out-physicaling teams. We did that on Sunday, and the Falcons are a physical football team. We watched that game, and it was like looking in a mirror, except they ran a different style of offense, but it was the same shit. They were beating us up. They were beating us up. They were running the football down our throats, and that shit is not fun. We got a dose of our own medicine. But we still were able to out-physical them when it was all said and done. But we're going to need more out of Taylor Heinicke. That didn't have to be, 19. And look, an extra point would have made it a lot more comfortable. They still could have gone for 2 had they scored a touchdown and beat us 21-20. That game didn't have to be that nerve-wracking if he just does the things that he's capable of doing, like hitting Terry in the back of the end zone for that touchdown, not throwing a pick into quadruple coverage, trying to layer it over like 4 Falcon defenders into the waiting arms of Jahan Dotson. That's not going to happen. You got 3 timeouts. They're dropping 15 yards away from the line of scrimmage. Tuck it and run. Slide after you get a gain of 8. Call a timeout. There was 24 seconds left. There was no need for him to force that football. Be smart. So we're going to need more from him. I'm not asking him to be Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers or something that he's not capable of being. I'm just asking him to be the best version of Taylor Heinicke he can be. He does that, we're going to have a chance to go a lot further than people think this season. As we go to in other news, I told you guys yesterday we were going to take a look, as we do every Tuesday, at the playoff picture. So I want to first start with the NFC East, look at the division, talk about what was done there over the weekend, and then we will progress to the overall picture of the NFC and where Washington sits. And we'll really start to get in depth with that next week as we head into the bye week. And we will really start to nail down scenarios and things of that nature, as we will only have 4 games left on the season. And let's take a look, though, at the NFC East as it stands right now. So obviously the Eagles are the class of not just the division, but the conference right now. They're 10-1. They have the best record in the NFL right now. And they got a nice win over the Green Bay Packers, rushed for a ridiculous amount of rush yards. I think it was something like 363 yards rushing. I mean, that's insane, and it's not like Jalen Hurts had 47 yards passing in the game. He still passed for like 150 or 60 some odd yards, but they ran for 364 or 3 yards, some asinine number on the Green Bay Packers. Jalen Hurts himself had like 154 yards rushing or some ridiculous number like that. Miles Sanders had a monster game as well. Both of them were well over 120 yards rushing. And so the Eagles have it going on offense. Their defense, though, leaves a lot to be desired. And I thought their special teams showed some problems and cracks in the game on Sunday versus the Packers. But they won 40-33 over Green Bay. And they're now 10-1. Dallas impressively got it done. It started slow against the Giants on Thanksgiving. Giants hung in there, tough, rough, and rugged as you would expect. But Dallas pulled away in the fourth quarter and won that game comfortably by a couple of scores. I think the Giants might have scored a late touchdown to make it look a little bit closer. I think it was like something to the effect of 27-16. I don't know why they went for 2 late in the game. It wasn't going to make a difference, but I think they went for 2, didn't get it, and lost 27-16, something to that effect. Dallas is now 8-3. They've been ultra impressive of late. Remember what they did to Minnesota, destroying them just a week ago, 40-3. And so they're playing much better football, are the Dallas Cowboys, and they appear to be the biggest threat to the Philadelphia Eagles, not just in the division, but overall. potentially in the conference, along with San Francisco, obviously. But when we're talking about the division, they're the biggest threat. They play the Eagles once more, and so we'll see what happens there. They have now taken over second place for, the last month or so. They've been kind of hovering around, third place. Giants have been in that 2-hole. The Giants have now lost 3 in a row after the loss on Thanksgiving to the Dallas Cowboys. They also lost to the Lions. I think they lost 3 out of their last 4. I don't think they lost 4 in a row. But they beat the Texans, then they lost to the Lions, and now they've lost to the Cowboys. And so they're reeling right now, are the Giants. As you can see, they've lost 2 in a row. So, yes, they are now heading in the wrong direction. They've got a ton of injuries. They're getting some guys back this week, or at least, pulling them off of IR. But they're 7-4. They're still holding on to third place in the division, but only by a half game behind the surging, Washington Commanders, obviously. And so 7-5, winners of 3 straight, playing really good football. And so Washington can ascend in this division. They got it done against the Atlanta Falcons, 19-13, as we all know. And a win over the Giants on Sunday could elevate them to 8-5, leapfrog the Giants in the division. And then you would be within striking distance of Dallas if they were to, say, slip up against Indianapolis, which they won't. But should they slip up against a team like Indy on Sunday Night Football and drop to 8-4, now you're just a half game behind Dallas for second place in the division and, that top wild card spot in the conference. So right now, Washington has a lot of ground that they can gain if they just continue to win football games. And so we go from there to the conference as a whole. And so we talked about this already. So right now, Washington sits here, and we're going to go ahead and unlock this box here, and we're going to slide it up right here. This is where Washington is now. And so right now, Washington is in the 7-hole, as you can see. So they're technically in the playoffs. If the playoffs started today, Washington would be in. Now, there's a lot of things that they've been cleaning up, but they've still got a lot of work to do. The biggest thing right now that still is really interesting to me is net points. What does that mean? Net points is the differential between the points you've scored this season versus the points you've given up, okay? So here you see Washington has scored 233 points on the season. They've given up 236. So they're at a -3 or a -3 in the point differential. Look at so really what this statistic shows is how dominant you've been throughout the course of the season. Usually if you're in the negatives, you're a bad football team. You're under 500, you're struggling. If you're in the positive, you've got a chance. If you're way in the positive, you're dominating and you've got a great record. Case in point, Eagles are 87 net points. That means they've scored 87 more points than their opponents this season. The 49ers have scored 76 more points than their opponents. Like, Dallas has scored 92 more points than their opponents. You see where I'm going with this? Look at all the teams that are under 500, okay, including the Bucks, who are -3. All right. You got the Falcons at -21, the Lions at -35, the Packers at -48, the Panthers at You see where I'm going with this. All right. All of the bad teams are negative. We're the only, us and the Giants are the only 2 teams with a negative net point rating and still over 500. So we've been very fortunate, but what it says is we have to start scoring more points. You can't keep having these type of contests where you're eking out a 1 or 2 or 3 point victory. Those catch up with you eventually. Okay. So we're going to have to start scoring 23 and 27 if we want to win some of these games. You can't keep scoring 19 and 17 and think you're going to win football games. That's why we lost to Minnesota. You score more points in that game, you win. And look, you don't turn it over late in that ball game, you probably still win, but that's nor here nor there. Let's take a look at the remaining schedules of all the teams that are still in the mix here. So you got Dallas. They took care of business versus the Giants on Thanksgiving, so that's another win there. So now you're looking at these final 6 games. We've already talked about this. I don't want to spend a lot of time on Dallas because I've already told you they play Washington and the Eagles, and then they play the entire AFC South. They should be able to clean up here. It would not shock me if Dallas ended with 12 or 13 victories because of what they've got left on their schedule. They're not going to lose to the Colts. They're not going to lose to the Texans. They could lose to Jacksonville. That's one that I'm going to really highlight there. They could lose to Philadelphia, obviously. They could lose to the Titans, and they could lose to the Commanders. But they're going to beat the Colts. They're going to beat the Texans. They probably are going to beat Jacksonville as well, but don't sleep on that game. And then it gets interesting in the division. I think they could lose to Tennessee because of what the Titans like to do, but we'll see what happens there. In order to catch them in the division and in the standings, we're just going to have to continue to win. Period, point blank, end of discussion, and we just let the chips fall where they may. You go to the Giants. I told you they're the team that I'm looking at and saying, you got to go. All right, this was a cute story. First-year head coach. He's in the runnings for head coach of the year is Brian Daboll. He's did a fantastic job, but the jig is up, okay? They've got us this week. Then they've got the Eagles the week after that, both of them at home. Then they're going to be on the road for the next 2 games after that at Washington. That game is still to be determined. I think they're going to play that game on a Saturday, more likely than not. If it's on a Sunday, that'll be interesting, to say the least. We'll see what happens. Giants, and then they got the Vikings on the road on Christmas Eve. That'll be interesting there. At home versus the Colts, that's a game that they're going to win. And then at the Eagles to finish up. Who knows if Philadelphia needs that? Hopefully there's pressure being applied to the Eagles by, 1 or 2 teams that forces them to have to play their starters in week number 18. But if they don't need that game, we'll see what happens. But the Giants, they got a tough schedule. Like, that's part of the reason why I think they're going to bow out gracefully, is because they've got a rough go of it. Now, they've been a resilient team all season long. Do not count them out, but this is tough. You get to the next team, Seahawks. That was a tough loss for them. Overtime loss to the Raiders at home, 40-33. That could come back to bite them. They're now 6-5 on the season. They got the Rams this week. They're going to beat the Rams. The Rams are reeling. They're banged up. They're a mess. Panthers the week after that. If that game were in Carolina, I'd give the Panthers a fighting chance. That game's in Seattle. I think the Seahawks are going to win that football game. They got the 49ers at home. That's an interesting game. I don't know if we can lose there. No matter who wins that game, somebody's got to lose, and it's going to help us. Period. End of discussion. We'll see what happens there. They've got the Chiefs after that. Very losable game there. As a matter of fact, they should lose that game, but you never know. We'll see what happens. Jets, that game becomes so much more interesting now because the Jets are a good football team this year. And so don't know what they're going to do with the quarterback position. Don't know who's going to be starting for the Jets then. But that's a game where the Jets have a chance to maybe clinch a playoff spot. That's going to be a fascinating game. And then they got the Rams again. They're going to beat the Rams both times. And I think they're going to beat the Panthers. So that would give them 9 wins. But they could lose to the 49ers, Chiefs, and Jets. So the Seahawks are very interesting. They're a team that is on the outside looking in right now. But again, I think that they could end up taking the Giants' place in the playoff picture if the Giants aren't careful. But again, I don't care about anybody else but us. Whether they take the Giants spot or not, they're just not taking our spot. That's all that I care about. You're not getting our spot. You can have whatever you want. Just don't come after what's ours. So that's the Seahawks. And then the 49ers, as I mentioned, they took the lead in the division. So now they're the 3 seed in the NFC. After they won, they beat the Saints and blanked them 13-0. And the Seahawks lost in overtime to the Raiders. This is a big one. I don't know why they didn't flex this one into Sunday night. Cowboys and Colts, very, very uninspired football there. I know it's Dallas and they're a big draw, but I thought they should have flexed this Dolphins 49ers game into Sunday night football. This is what you sign up for right here. Good on good, best on best. Then they got the Bucs after that. The Bucs are struggling, man. They are just a shell of themselves. But it's still Tom Brady. You know, it's still Tom Brady. We'll see what happens in that game. Then they have the Seahawks. We talked about that game already. That's on a Monday night, or a Thursday night, rather. That's a Thursday night football game on December 15th. All eyes will be on that game. Then they get the Commanders. So they got a full 9 days off before they play us. You know, go figure, right? Seems like we've had a lot of teams coming off. The Eagles, for instance, came off of a Thursday night game against the Texans when we played them on Monday night. So they got Thursday night, and then they got an extra day by playing on Monday night. Didn't matter. We still took care of business. So I'm not fazed by them playing on a Thursday and having extra time to prepare for us, but it does suck. But they have us, and that'll be a great test for us, and we'll have an opportunity to see what the 49ers are really made of. They got the Raiders. That'll be an interesting game there late in the season. Bay Area battle there, or at least it used to be. And then you've got the Cardinals, who I think will be playing out the string at that point of the season. I think they'll take care of them. So the 49ers schedule is very tough. You know, Dolphins, Bucks, Seahawks, Commanders, all teams fighting for a playoff spot. So unlike the Seahawks, who have a couple of teams that aren't going anywhere on their schedule, same with Dallas, you're right. They're going to have to fight every single week. And that's what I like. I like the fact that we have a schedule where we're going to be playing teams probably outside of Cleveland. We're playing teams that are fighting for their playoff lives. You're playing playoff games. Iron sharpens iron. That's going to make this 49ers team battle tested as they head into the postseason. So I like our schedule too, because if we're going to get in, we're not backing in. You know, we're not going to be moonwalking into the playoffs. If we get in, it's going to be because we earned our way in the hard way by beating teams who have something to play for. So I digress. So you see what it is. You know, Washington is right where they need to be. They're now in the 7 hole. They're going to have to play better. That's the theme of today's episode, is they're going to have to be better on offense. You can't keep relying on the defense to make timely plays and you're just barely hanging on at the end of the game, relying on the other team making a mistake on special teams, or the play against the Eagles where they hit Taylor Heineke late so that they don't get the football back. The Falcons commit a stupid penalty by running into Tressway. You can't keep relying on teams making those types of mistakes to preserve victories for you. You got to go out and take these wins. And don't think that the Giants are going to lay down for us in either one of these two contests. They're going to be game, and they're going to be looking to get back on track. They're not conceding anything. They think that they're still going to make the playoffs this season, and we're standing in their way. And so we got to score more points. We got to score more points. You want to beat San Francisco, you want to beat Cleveland, you want to beat Dallas, you're going to have to score more points. These teams aren't going to allow you to win games 17-16, 19-13. You're going to have to score over 20 points. So I want to see this offense score more points, be more effective in the red zone. We're moving the football. We're getting into the red zone. But if you're getting into the red zone, we can't afford to kick field goals because we're not getting into the red zone 5 times in a game. We're getting into the red zone 3 times. So if one of those trips isn't a touchdown, now you're looking at not scoring 20, plus points. Now you're looking at scoring 17. Now you're looking at scoring maybe 20. So that's exactly what happened on Sunday. We got into the red zone 3 times. We scored 2 touchdowns. We settled for a field goal, and we missed an extra point. That's how you get 19. Can't throw interceptions when you got great field position and an opportunity to maybe put another field goal on the scoreboard. Got to take care of the football. And when plays are there to be made, you got to make them. We need Taylor Heineke or whomever's at the quarterback position to step up to help this team maximize what they can be in this particular season. So that's going to do it for me, T, here on Commanders Nightly News. I thank you guys for joining me. Look forward to chopping it up with you guys live tomorrow night. The plan was to get the Super Friends together, but I don't think we're going to be able to get Bad Dog on board. So he's got a lot going on. And so I think we are going to only be able to get 2 out of the 3 Super Friends. And with that said, I think we're going to do it next week on the bye week. I think that makes the most sense. So we'll see what happens. But in any event, you guys have a good one. Take care. I'll see you next time.
Here comes the Diesel. Here comes the Diesel. There's the snap. Hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20.